Hi, everyone. I have some exciting news about this episode. The interview was awesome. So awesome, in fact, that it ran for an hour and a half. So, to be respectful of your time, we decided to break up this episode into two parts. This is part two and includes how to research the content that will attract the audience you're looking for, how to dissect your customer base's search habits, how to maximize local versus national strategies to your advantage, understanding your buyer's experience, and much more. If you missed part one, you can go to lovetoownyourbusiness.com or visit us at our website at slcadvisorygroup.com. So let's jump right in. All right, bring us home. Closing us out. What is something that you would recommend to business owners to start refining their current digital strategy? So I want to start chewing at the corners. It's overwhelming. Like, there's a lot of stuff and people are going to be, I'm rewinding. I think this is going to be the most rewound show ever. But how can they just start chewing at the corners?
You know what? It's the first time I've ever heard that phrase, chewing at the corners. What does that mean?
It means, how do you take a bite? How do you take a bite of the elephant? Or
right,
how do you
okay, gotcha. All right. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't answering the wrong question, and then, I would say, if you have, one of the first things I would look at within your business is starting to just understand what your business does, and then what are the appropriate things that could work with that. And what I mean by that is a really simple question you can ask is, am I a local service? Am I a regional service or a national service? So if you think of it in this way, right? Like, if you're trying to think of like what marketing can move the needle for you, if you're a local service and you decide content marketing, that's what we're going to do this year. We're going to do content marketing. It's going to blow up our business. Well, let's say, again, going to back to that plumber reference, right? If you create a blog post and somebody in Albuquerque is reading it and they're like, thanks, that helps me, but I'm not going to do business with you because you're in Buffalo, New York, right? Like, that blog post is like, you might be able to make some AdSense on it a little bit, but it's not going to create quality leads for you. So when that's the case, then you might want to look more into like Google My Business, right? Because that is hyper local. And then you might want to start considering like some local advertising things such as radio, television, or those things, because that can make a lot of sense. But another thing to think of is like, all right, well, let's say I'm kind of regional, right? Or perhaps like, I apologize again for listeners that might be outside of the area, but let's say like you owned a gym in Jamestown and you're like, I want to advertise on radio. Well, when you're a gym, you're really hyper local. Like, unless somebody works by you or lives right by you, like, nobody's probably doing business with you outside of 5 miles. So if you decide to go with the radio route, you're going to be advertising to people 100 miles away in Niagara Falls, right? So then you have to determine, like, is this an effective enough medium that it's worth the cost to be advertising to people who may potentially never use your business? And it's a cheaper medium, like, as far as per impression. But those are things you have to kind of think about. And like, okay, like, once you start kind of just dialing down and dialing into your own business, then you can start to say, you know what, I think that this could make a lot of sense going over here. One of the other things too is kind of just like putting yourself in your customer's shoes. And I know we've talked about this before. They're called buyer legends, and they're really neat. I haven't done one in a couple of years, but basically what you do is you run a reverse chronological order of your customer's buying experience with your business. So really hammering the, plumber, into this equation, right? But you start with like essentially them like paying you, right? Is the first step. Then you go back a step and you're like, oh, like, we invoiced them. Then we go back a step. And then number 3, if you're picturing this as a bullet point list, is like, we finished the job. Number 4 is we worked on the job. 5 is we showed up. And then what you try to do is you try to find those little sub bullets of ways that you could improve that process. And what you'll find is not only could you make a potentially better customer experience, but you might improve your sales conversion. You might find ways that they are going to have something that's worth talking about to their neighbors, kind of like we were discussing, like, oh my gosh, they made me a video, that kind of thing. And I think there's just a lot of ways that you can create content, whether it be video, infographics, a nice sales presentation. If I was somebody who owned a plumbing business, I would have a sales conversion tool that the moment I get a lead, if it comes in and there's a cell phone number attached to it, I'm sending them a text. And on that text, I'm going to say, hey, what's the issue? Like, if you want, even take a video, I can FaceTime with you and be able to work with you through this. And not even like trying to pitch your business, just saying, I want to get the problem stopped. Because this person might not even know that there's a water shutoff valve in their house, right? So that's something that they could do. And if you're the person that responded to them first and you're helping them at least limit the damage at that particular moment, they're going to do business with you not only that time, but every time going forward. So it's like, how do you figure out those little additions that might make sense? And for somebody who's a plumber, it's such like it's usually, what's hitting the fan in that industry. So if you can be super, super responsive, that's really important, right?
That's fantastic.
Yeah. And if you don't mind, I had one other thing. I had a couple notes written down. One of them, because I like seeing stuff that's unrelated, kind of, that you interact with. And then you're like, wow, that's kind of interesting from just a business perspective. Because like my brain's always thinking about customer experience and buying legends and these kinds of things. And I run into this on a pretty frequent basis. So where I run into it is there is a bagel shop that is local. And I try to buy local when I can. And I won't name who they are, but then there's also Panera, right? And I like the food at the bagel shop better, the local bagel shop. But the experience of buying that food is so much worse for me because Panera is like a master at meeting their customers at their preferred preference. So when I order Panera, I can order ahead. I can get curbside pickup. Thank you to COVID, right? I can also walk in and just grab it right off the shelf without ever talking to somebody. I can order in the store on a kiosk, or I can order in the store through an actual person, which that's scary, right? But the interesting thing about that is like everyone has a different preference. And my preference that I prefer, I don't like curbside because I don't want to bother them and have them come out and bring me my meal. Like I'm willing to go in, right? But I also don't want to talk to anybody because I'm a little bit more introverted. So I like to order ahead, save on time, walk in, grab it off the shelf and walk out. And when I go to the other bagel shop, like my experience is terrible. Like it takes me 20 minutes sometimes to get a bagel, which I understand first world problems. But at the same time, when I have options and I can go down the street and I can get on my phone and pop. And then it's like, makes it easy. One click reorder. You ordered this before. I walk in. I don't have to talk to anybody. They're meeting me at my preferred preference. That's who I do business with more. So if you can take that Panera example and think about your business, right? And then you got to think about, okay, I don't want to do live chat on our website because it's not worth the effort and it's not what I would do. I would never live chat somebody. I always pick up the phone and call. Well, that's great, but you have so many different customers that have their preferred preference. Maybe you should have that live chat thing and maybe you should test it out and see how it works. And then maybe you should have, different channels and ways that people can reach you. One service that I recommend to people sometimes is Grasshopper. So that's like a digital virtual phone service. It's really cheap, right? If you got a small business, you can get away with like 20, 30 bucks a month. But what it allows you to do is not only just have a phone number, but a text number too. So if you're busy, right, your salesman's out on the road and you can't answer the phone, because you can kind of do a phone tree and make it go to different people. Basically what will happen is if they can't answer it, it'll immediately reply to that person with a text, but it'll say, hey, I'm sorry, I'm busy right now, but can you give me a little bit of information? Let me know what problem you're dealing with, blah, blah, blah. And like, what's a good time to reach back? So to that person, it already feels like you're in communication, even though you're really not. It's just an automated thing. But then when they do, like maybe that person's in a sales meeting, but they can just say like, okay, sounds good. And just send that text back. And that golden window, you're familiar with the golden window, Sean?
Nope.
You heard that term?
Nope.
The golden window is the first 5 minutes after a lead comes in, and your sales conversion is so crazy high. And if you can get to people in that first 5 minutes, and if you get to them 24 hours later, it's like a tenth of that, because a lot of times it's like bubble wrap for people. They're going online, they're searching things, and then they're going down the Google My Business listings and they're sending out an email, sending out an email, sending out an email. That's what I would do because I don't want to talk on the phone. And then the first person that gets back to me is the first person I'm going to start conversations with, because I'm like, okay, like I don't know anything about these different services, but these people at least have a better business process set up and can get back to me the quickest. Then if they were willing to text with me all day, I'm willing to do that. Yep. So a lot of these things, they stink. Like they really stink to think about setting up, because you're just like, geez, like I don't want to do it. But if your customer does, like that should be really the thing that's driving your decisions. And you can just test them out. You don't have to do them forever. Like do it for a few months and see if you like it. Google My Business has an option to request a quote right from Google My Business. They don't even visit your website anymore, but if that's what the customer wants, let them try it and see if it works for you and just measure, right? How many leads did we get in? Did we convert them? Is this a pain? Is this awesome? All that kind of stuff.
Yep. It's a classic example of if you can't beat them, join them, right? You really got to start meeting people where they're at now. They have so many options.
There's so many options. It's overwhelming. It's daunting, all of that. But it's just like, take a honest look at your business, try to think about what your customers might like. And the hardest thing is to get yourself out of your shoes, because it's just like, I think this way, this is how I see the world, but not every customer is just like you. So,
and not only that, but some of the stuff is incredibly, incredibly advanced. So for the first time, Google started calling me. They wanted me to update my Christmas and my holiday hours this year. I don't know if you got this phone call too, but I answer the phone and it announces itself as a digital assistant or whatever the little blurb there was. But I immediately forgot about it because the guy sounded so real. And I was talking about it, I was like, what? I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. And like, if I didn't understand what my answer was, it sounded just like I was talking to a person, right?
I know. And it's interesting because Google, you would think they're going to send you an email, but they know that different people respond to different things. Yep. So they can create this automated platform. It actually made me think of something, right? When my wife was pregnant, I say this like we don't eat ice cream when she's not pregnant, but when she was pregnant, natural, I want Dairy Queen Blizzard. That was like the thing. So the funny thing about it is the Dairy Queen didn't update their hours. So there was no hours listed on this Dairy Queen, which I thought was weird because I'm like, this is a chain. Like you'd think there'd be somebody at corporate that helps them with this stuff at least. The person picks up the phone and it's just like, we're open till 10 o'clock. Ba, 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 ba. Any other questions? And you could tell. And I just said, yeah, I got one. How many times do you get this phone call per night? And she's like, I can't even tell you. And she's like 15, 25 times a night. And I go, why don't you guys just add hours to your Google business list? And she goes, the owner doesn't believe in digital. And I just started laughing and I'm just like, oh my gosh, like if this person spent 5 to 10 minutes just updating the hours on this listing, they can reduce during these peak times, 15 to 25 phone calls a day, coming in just by updating that. Right. And then go to Bing because maybe 5% of your customers are using Bing, and like stuff like that drives me crazy because it's so crazy inefficient, and there's ways to do content, digital tweaks, things like that, just to educate your consumer, bring them along the sales cycle. Right. I think you do a masterful job with that, Sean, because yes, you want to talk to people like me, right? But you're also making content and you're educating people and, helping them along, but then you get to show up in their feeds and it gives a nice piece of, content that you might be able to share with somebody like, hey, like you asked this question, this might be a great thing. And it makes you a connector in different ways. And your scalability is so much higher doing it that way, as opposed to just, going to a coffee shop or something like that.
Yep. I agree. Thank you.
Yeah. And one more? Are we?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Because I did write down
an hour-long show. This will be the bonus New Year show. We've doubled. We're growing our podcast. We've doubled the size.
So the last thing, and this really isn't like a great insight, but there's the best piece of marketing advice I ever got. I was at a conference and this guy, his name is Roland Frazier, big time business owner, marketer, crazy, billions of dollars kind of thing. But he's like, our mantra for when we're looking at our business is we do the opposite of 1,000 paper cuts, death by 1,000 paper cuts. We do the opposite of that. We win through 1,000 micro wins. And I think that's kind of how you have to look at things now, because everything is so fragmented and segmented, right? Because you're like, there's 10 social media channels we can choose from. And then there's 4 ways that people could possibly connect with our business, whether it's, it used to just be phone calls and walk-ins, but now it's phone calls, walk-ins, emails, Facebook messages, live chat. And it's just like, I don't want to do it. And it's just like, just pick one that you think could be a great asset to your business potentially based on, assessing your customers and that, and just try that one thing and measure it. Is this working? Is it worth the effort? Can it be done better? And then pick another thing and pick another thing and pick another thing and pick another thing. And I think like, that's what I've experienced from helping businesses grow is just micro wins. Like this isn't, the land of like, let's do radio, TV and print and call it a day. Yeah. You do have to meet people, but do it through these micro wins and just watch your business incrementally just gain more exposure, more leads, more sales, and you'll be happy you did.
I agree. Gone are the days where you could put money into like a digital marketing strategy as an afterthought to all after you filled all your other buckets in your budget, right? This
Oh
has
yeah.
to be one of the primary budget buckets now. It's just the cost of doing business. I didn't want to have a phone. Well, you gotta have a phone now. You're gonna have to have a phone bill, right? And as we progress through time and through the ages, this is one of those next things that just has to become part of the cost of doing business. I think there is absolutely no alternative. You will be left behind, and sooner now rather than later because of what's gone on last year.
Sean, I know that you do like fractional CFO work, and I've actually worked with you in that capacity, and it was awesome. Like it was just like so cool to see you work with somebody in house, bring that person up to speed, and do it in a way that was very elegant, graceful, as you say in your intros.
Thank you.
And I know that was appreciated because it was really easy to work with that. But I do, because I think this nickname moniker could work for you. Can you start calling yourself, would you say it was Budget Buckets?
Budget buckets.
Hi, I'm Sean, but everyone calls me Budget Buckets.
I love those words and play words. Like for my own like geeky thing is like I like putting words that sound like together and just mashing them together to make them work.
Oh yeah. It's what is it? Alliteration, right?
Yeah.
Actually, I did stand-up comedy for a little bit, and I maybe did it like 10, 12 times. And this is a great, you know what? Again, there's a marketing analogy in here, and it's know your audience. Yep. So in this particular case, I came up with something that I thought wasn't that brainy, but maybe it could get a laugh. And I said, I'm a big fan of alliteration. I said something like, I absolutely adore alliteration in a joke, thinking like, like cheap laugh, like he used an alliteration to say it. But I'm at like Nietzsche's on Allen Street in Buffalo, and everyone's drunk, and it's just like, what? And then you just heard one guy go, ha. But I was like, not a great joke for that audience, like probably didn't connect as well as I wanted it to. So I feel like there's so many connections and analogies that you can pick up from other stuff, whether you're doing stand-up comedy, buying a bagel from Panera or whatever, but you can start to kind of look at these things and be like, like, wow, this business is doing it really good. Like Panera's crushing it. Am I going to develop a mobile app so people can order from me? Probably not. Is there already an app out there that does this for me to make it easy? Probably, there's so many things that you can do.
And there's so many people like yourself, right, who is a fractional CMO or somebody that can come in and you can carve out a piece of that budget to do X amount of hours of work or whatever the case might be, and then you can grow on that, right? So you don't have to like hire a full-time person, but someone like yourself can come in and do that, right? So
yeah. I think that's like again, it's like looking at your budgets. Like you got a massive budget, hire a full-time guy, hire that person. Like maybe she can walk in and be that person that's gonna, help your business grow. But if you've got a smaller budget, like find the fractional people, then see if you can get like a few people, like maybe it's a virtual assistant or just a intern or somebody local that works part-time. And then you just grow into everything and, just get that roadmap in the beginning figured out of like what makes sense, what are the things to focus on and try, and then make sure you got people to help support you to implement those things.
Yeah. I mean, you got to have it. At the time that we've spent together, it's just a non-issue, right? It's there.
Yeah. And like another thing, I know we're just kind of throwing stuff out there, but one of the things I've noticed, at least locally in Buffalo, is even we talked about the golden window. Yep. Well, the non-response rate to things I have been finding, and maybe it's, 2020 was a weird year, but the lack of response that I've gotten to me making a buyer's request is crazy. I had to go to the third chiropractor. The first two never emailed me back. Wow. I've emailed again, because this is my preference. I don't want to call you. I emailed a electrician, have never heard back, and these are all within the last like 2 months that I'm talking about. And it's like, it may not even be that you're broken, like as far as your systems, like you have somebody willing and able to do it. Your contact form might be broken on your website though, So like if you're somebody who uses these different services, just like set up an automatic thing in your business that on Mondays and Fridays, you spend 5 minutes and you go in and you test the contact form to make sure it's working. Because all of a sudden that thing doesn't work for 2 weeks and you didn't realize it and you just lost out on 5 new pieces of business. Like that is massive dent to your business and your income. So like just paying attention to that kind of stuff, when you respond, like, are you capable of like instead of like, can you have canned responses, right? So even if you're using Gmail, they have these canned responses, which makes a really nice looking email. Like, wow, this person spent a lot of time writing this. But then you can slide in like a link to like a video thing that says, hey, if you want to know more about us, like this, here's a 37-second video, like it all depends on what exactly you're doing. But like the quicker you can make that connection and that relationship with somebody, the better. Because maybe they just sent in a contact form, but now they're watching a video of you and they know your face and they know what you sound like and they like you for some reason. And now they're moving down that kind of deepening that relationship with you as they're getting closer to making a purchase. And it's also telling them, wow, these people are really thoughtful and competent, right? There's the things that are subconsciously being said, and then there's the things that are actually being said. And sometimes those subconscious things are more important than the things that are actually being said out loud.
Yeah. Speed is of the essence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So let's close this out. Thank you very, very much for this, Eric. This has been absolutely fantastic and a pleasure.
Yeah, likewise, Sean. I know you were kind of flattering me quite a bit earlier, but you've been such a help in my business. For a second, you said I'm a fractional CFO, and I was like, oh boy, like I would just come in and just
my own initials.
I would be a good lead gen service for you if I started becoming a fractional CFO, and then you could try to data hack what I'm doing and who my clients are, and going on LinkedIn and seeing who I'm connected with, and you'd be like, hey, I know this guy's jacking your books up. Like, my name's Sean. You should do business with me.
That's black hat marketing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, honestly, I've done some of that before. Like, all right, one last tidbit and I'll stop.
Okay. No,
like
you're good.
You're looking to hire, like, let's say you wanted to hire an agency because you think the agency model is the right model for you. Like, how do you get a gauge on, are they a good agency to work with? Like, you can even go on their LinkedIn page, right? Look up employees, and it's going to spit out a list of the employees that work there and did work there. Now, how much turnover do they have? Because if they have constant turnover, and you can see that based on dates of employment, you might be like, well, that's concerning. Like, maybe they lost a big piece of business and now you're going to have an intern working on your project as opposed to that person that's been there for 3 years. And then I've even done it where I've reached out to the former employee and said, hey, what do you think of that company you used to work for? And he was polite. He didn't say bad things, but he's like, you may want to consider this company over here though. That's a super honest opinion, and there's just ways to just get a little bit better information if you're willing to just dig a little bit,
Yeah, that's a big life lesson. Like, don't burn bridges ever on anywhere anymore, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. All right. So how can people find you, like on your YouTube channel, or get in touch with you for consulting services and things like that? How can they learn more about Eric?
I would say, just send me a LinkedIn request. I know that's like the lamest response as far as like, oh, this marketer who just talked all this stuff. And he's like, yeah, just go through LinkedIn. But honestly, like, I don't do a lot of fractional services. I will if it makes sense. But what I have going on YouTube is working real well. But especially if it's somebody who's interested in growing a YouTube channel, I'd love to work with people like that. Just because I'm passionate about it, I feel like I can provide a ton of value in that area very quickly. Like, I wish I had somebody like me when I was starting out 8 years ago, so I could have bypassed the first 6 years. And I'm not lying about that. Like, the first 6 years was just like Eric's throwing more spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks, And anybody interested in, like, if you think a national audience makes sense for you and you also have interest in developing a YouTube channel, I'd love to consult with people on that. And they can catch me on LinkedIn. Just search my name on LinkedIn. I'm the only Eric Worral as far as I know.
It's fantastic. It's funny.
Yeah.
I'll just tail off for a second. I saw one of those influencers that we talked about on LinkedIn. I won't specifically call them out here, but they were actually doing a whole video on ripping up their business cards. They're just going through business cards and just ripping them up because that is a thing of the 80s, right? So
yeah. I used to go to those meetings, and like, I made a conscious decision one day. I'm like, I'm not doing it. I'm never having a business card again. But I did feel weird. Like, I was outside of the tribe, like at the networking meeting, like, oh, I don't have cards. I guess I don't have a real business, But meanwhile, it's like, I got probably during this, I think on average, I get about like 10,000 views a day on YouTube. Yep. So if you do that out by hour, this hour that we've been talking, I've had 500 people just viewing content that I've created while we're talking, So I've been able to replicate myself, answer questions, help people out, do a million different things at once. And it's just like the efficiency of it is what I really like and crave. But yeah.
Fantastic.
I had another thought too, but this podcast, I don't want you to, go too long with it.
Now we left the script like, I don't know, 4 hours ago.
Yeah. Well, Sean, do you mind me sharing like the strategy that we were working on for you?
No, we'll just post this.
Okay.
We'll
so
like,
the video strategy,
guys, take it all.
The video strategy that you and I were working on, right?
Yep.
Okay. So I have no idea if this is going to work, but the reason I bring it up is because I do think when you're doing some of these things that patience is so key, right? And this video, I'm like, it still might work, but it's like a month or two old, probably like 6 weeks, I had to guess, and it has 20 views. And it's just like, by all purposes, this thing's a dud. But what I did is I tweaked the thumbnail and just changed the thumbnail. And all of a sudden I'm seeing views trickle in. Like I got 3 in the last couple of days, which sounds like nothing. But as this thing gets better exposure, it has the potential to get several thousand views a month. So what we did in your case, Sean, just for the listeners, is Sean wants to be in front of people who are business owners or high, VPC level employees that are having issues in their business, whether it be financial or people issues, right? And I think, what was the term you used? It's either people or process typically. Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love that. I learned that from you. It's so simple. It's like, if you have an issue, it's people or process, right?
It's not mine. I can't take credit for it, but yes, I use it.
Yeah, whatever. But you haven't heard me actually give anybody credit for anything I've said today, right? It's all just me. But what we did is we're like, okay, like where would these people be hanging out? These people that have pain within their business, and how can we potentially be in front of those people? That's a really difficult thing to navigate, right? Yeah. And what we looked at was I went to Amazon and started putting in titles of books that I thought were aligned with this. And then on Amazon, I found a book that had a ton of reviews, which tells me it's downloaded a bunch, and there's stats on all this stuff that you can find. I even used a piece of software that told me how many downloads it was getting per hour. And then we came up with a book called The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team by Patrick Lencioni. So what I did is I created a video, and I've read this book before, and I just kind of did a little bit of research on it. And when I plugged that book into YouTube, there's a guy who's got like 240,000 views on that video. And all he's doing is a summary, a synopsis of this. But I was like, look at this guy, Sean, like this is who you want to be. Like you want to be, maybe not that specific guy, right? But he's in front of an audience of people who are experiencing pain, and he sells a service that speaks to that pain. And 200,000 people. And it's just like, can you get 1% of them? Like you would have more business than you know what to do with. So I created the video, and it very well could be a dud. I'm willing to admit that. But the intention is to let this thing run, and it may take 6 months or so. And if it all of a sudden starts to unseat that person's video, you're going to have a just steady stream of traffic of people with problems within their business. And yes, you're answering and giving them little insights from this book, or I was in this particular case. But then hopefully it's just like, hey, here's a call to action. Check out this guy over here, because, reading a book's one thing, but getting an outside perspective and opinion is another, So it's just like finding out like, where are these little, they call them, honey pots, right? When you're fishing, right? Like, where are these little honey pots? And I see that, I'm like, oh, that's a honey pot. Like there's a lot of fish in that hole right there. So if you can find it, deconstruct what that person's doing and do it better, you can create a piece of content that costs you next to nothing and can be in front of 200,000 people who are looking to purchase the services that you sell. And I hope for your sake and also my ego that it works, but it'd just be cool. It's just like, oh, that's awesome. Like awesome. Like you just created a stream of business for yourself, and you didn't spend $100,000 a year doing it,
No, I agree. At the end of the day, isn't residual income like the holy grail of business income, right?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like this is more personal, but I'm not that taboo with this stuff. But like yesterday, I took the day off because I'm just getting over like a head cold kind of thing. And I made as much income yesterday, not working at all, than I used to make in my last job in a week, and it just came in passively, but it's because I put the work up front with content that is continuing to build and build and build. And it just makes it so easy to just kind of take a day and just say, you know what, I'm going to watch some Netflix today because I'm not feeling it, but Eric's still out there talking to 10,000 people, and some people are buying stuff because Eric's talking to them, and I don't meet any of these people, and I'm fine with that because I'm introverted and I don't want to meet them.
That's the ultimate reason to ultimately embrace permanency as opposed to fear permanency on the web, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. People are like, I'm like, yeah, like don't go crazy like Bic, did with their ad. That's crazy. Yeah. And I've got some stuff I'm embarrassed of that's on the web, but at the end of the day, it's just like, I forget what they call it. It's like the spotlight syndrome. And you think you're in the spotlight all the time. Yeah. Nobody cares what you're doing, like your friends, your immediate circle does. And I think that's really big hurdle that people have for video is they're like so self-conscious. And I get it because I do too. I was doing it during this call. I was like, my face looks a little fat, but it's fine. Who cares? But at the same time, especially if you're in an industry that other people are very afraid to do it because they're either self-conscious or they don't care. Right. And I'm talking to plumbing again, right? How many plumbing companies are going to do this stuff? They don't care. They don't see the value in it. Well, that means that you have less competition. Yeah. So when you do make something, it can have a better chance of working. I would never recommend like to start a YouTube channel about marketing. Good luck because there's 10,000 marketers that you're competing with. Mm-hmm. But if you started a YouTube channel on proper fixes for plumbing from a plumber, not many people doing that, So that's another thing is just kind of gauging the competition and are they having success and can you create something better, and just, I don't know, be willing to put yourself out there.
I agree. Should I close this out?
Yeah. I need to stop talking. So,
okay. All right. So if you want to learn more about what we do at SLC Advisory Group, come visit us at slcadvisorygroup.com. And of course, if you want to make sure that you don't miss any of our content, hit the subscribe button when you do, and we'll let you know when our next episode comes out. And we'll see you again next month. And thank you again, Eric. This has been incredible.
Thanks, Sean. I really appreciate it. I love doing this. It's always fun talking with you, and I'll back you up. I know I said it already before. Awesome person to just have come into your business and just give a fresh set of eyes and be able to help guide people. And I know that the business that I worked at, two different businesses, it was an awesome experience, and it's been cool getting to know you in such different roles all the time.
Thank you. The respect is absolutely mutual.
All right. Thanks, Sean.
Yep. Bye.